Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Leadership Exchange. And today I have a very distinguished guest, a very impactful friend, Tim Adams, who is a executive director and the founder of Free Play. Is it Free Play Sport, shall I say, Tim?
Free play for kids.
Free Play for Kids. I knew there was a word I was missing. Um, but yeah, I am so honored. Again, I've been a fan of Tim and this organization for many years, and I was so ecstatic to have Tim come on. And hopefully, you'll grab a lot of information from this interview as well as hopefully get in contact with Tim and his organization and want to get involved, especially when you really find out what the organization stands for. So, Tim, thank you for being here. How are you?
It's been a long time, brother. Holy smokes.
Yeah, how long has it been?
A decade? 10 years?
Yes, quite a
You
while.
look the same. I do not.
Please, please. No, Tim, it's yeah, it's like I've said and I've said to your face, I've said to many others, I'm such a fan of what you created. And that's what I want to start with. Where did this come from? The whole free play. Where did take us on that moment and then we'll start building from there.
Yeah, sure. So I moved to Edmonton after graduating journalism school at Carleton University, and I got a job at CBC. One of my first stories that I went to do was about a junk food ban coming in place across all public schools. And what you do in journalism is you tell the story of one person or one thing to tell a story about a bigger policy or bigger change. So I went to a school that already had a junk food ban in place because it was the highest need school in the city. And so lots of the kids there weren't eating regular meals and had unstable homes, so they had to ensure that everything at the school was really taking care of the kids, including the food. So they couldn't have the fries and the chips and all the junk food in the school. So I went there to talk to them about how it'd been going. And after I turned the microphone off from talking to the principal, I was saying, "Hey, I just moved to the city. I played at a decent level. I got a lot from sport. There was a lot of sport that I didn't enjoy as well, and I was really looking to change it. And I'd been calling the provincial associations and different clubs. And I just could never really find my fit in where I could maybe volunteer coach soccer." And she said, well, look out the window." So I looked out the window and there was a whole bunch of kids playing just kind of classic barefoot football with their hips hanging low and heels hitting their butt on every single stride and all the moves. And it was like, kind of like Streets of Rio de Janeiro vibes. Wow, who are these kids? She's like, "That's your team." And so we were talking a little bit about what that would look like. And she's like, "So are you in?" I'm like trying to get me to commit. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. She's like, "Okay, don't look out the window again." I'm like, "Okay, why not?" And I slowly turn and look out the window, and now there's full on brawl. And kids have got their belts off and hitting each other. And look back at the principal, and she's like, "Is it still your team?" I'm like, "Yeah, totally. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I was signing up for." So I started going a day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and quickly became, the big brother, the father figure. Lots of the kids were coming here as refugees, living with auntie or uncle or one person, single parent families, mom, dad working. Started to learn a lot more about, had some kids who were sleeping in the river valley, had some kids who their mother was in the sex trade and they would look after their younger brothers and sisters while she would be gone for a month. Had kids in and out of gangs or family members in and out of gangs. I spent a lot of time at the police station, at the courthouse. At the time when you were a kid that didn't have a lot of home supports, you would serve your suspension at like a bunker. I called it the bunker,
Yeah.
like a place because you couldn't stay at home because there was no point. So I spent a lot of time there, really just getting to know kids and getting an actual education in life. Because I had a pretty privileged life. I mean, you look at me, I'm a 6 foot, 290 pound white guy. So I've had a lot of privilege. I've had my challenges for sure, but not the same as the kids that I was meeting. And so I really fell in love with them and fell in love with, the idea of supporting and growing them. And that group of kids went on to kind of win everything you can possibly win. And the biggest challenge was actually beyond everything that was going on in their lives was that they were the eldest in the family. So they were looking after their little brothers and sisters. So they couldn't play unless we found a solution for the brothers and sisters too. So we actually sent a bus. We had a limo company for a while sponsoring us which was pretty awesome. We'd
Wow.
drive around to all the elementary schools and the daycares and pick up all the little brothers and sisters. So we'd go to a game and there'd be my roster of 18 and another 75 little ones, which, as you can imagine, is pretty unsustainable to show up to a game with 100 people and one person. And so, yeah, I kind of was thinking about what do I do about this? Like, what's my solution here? And kind of was pretty good at leading people and building community. I've always been pretty good at that. It's like, okay, well, why don't I start a team for the little brothers and sisters? And here in Edmonton, how it works is there's no school sport until you hit junior high. So these kids are all in elementary school. The only option for them would be to play community league soccer, which is kind of those lower tiers, 6-5-4 kind of thing, or to play club 3-2-1 or higher now, as we see in the province
Yeah.
and across the country. But it's in the evening, and the challenge was as soon as kids leave, like they're not coming back. Like life took over, challenges took over, responsibilities took over. So yeah, I didn't really have anywhere for them to play. I did try the club and the community league outlets, and it didn't work. Not for anybody's real fault, but it didn't work. So I ended up asking 3 other schools if they wanted to play, and then we had a league of 4. Then the next year grew to a league of 8. Then 16 schools, 26 schools. Eventually, 64 schools, 2 teams per school in 4 different sports: soccer, hockey, basketball, flag football. And that's sort of the origin of where it really started to explode. And I'll stop talking because then it takes another big leap after that. But that kind of gives you the idea of where it went.
This is how you started it, and wow, so much there to unwrap. Like that's unreal. And the fact that you looked at based on what you were just saying, the second phase was you had the kids in, but then you had the siblings, and you had to make sure
Yep.
uh, because it all tied in together. And I just think that's such a powerful thing. And then to get buy-in from the schools, I can definitely understand the whole youth, the community clubs and stuff, the politics and this and
Hmm. Hmm.
how much money can we make? And that's not all of them, but again, I can understand
Yep.
when you're proposing something like this. How do we help these kids? And
Yep.
that's one of the number one reasons, as well as many reasons why I love this organization because it impacts beyond the sport. Uh,
Hmm.
you're changing lives. You're, as you said, you're that guidance, support that a lot of these kids, don't have. And for you to come in and say, hey, I'm going to channel my energy into being that positive role model daily, not, once a week or once
Yep.
a month, but daily. And I really commend you. So you've got all these schools, which was how many?
Then it was 64. Yeah,
You've
it
got,
was pretty big.
so you've got all 64 schools involved now. Where was the evolution now to take it to the next stage? And what made you go, I've got to take it to the next stage?
Yeah, so that the big turn after getting to the 64, and I remember the last free footy final before COVID, there was 5,000 people watching the final grade 5-6 game. Like there was more people at the 5-6 free footy final than an FC Edmonton game at the time. So it was pretty wild. But then COVID came and
Yeah.
everything changed. You remember from coming and helping me that all the
Yeah.
coaches were principals, teachers, school staff custodians who were
Yeah.
volunteering their time. And when COVID came, we quickly learned like that wouldn't be possible. Schools were going to be so tight, and it would probably be a 2-year window before we'd return to that volunteerism. At the same time, we could really see that volunteer fatigue setting in. We'd been doing this for a decade, and you could kind of see like the same amazing people always put up their hand, and you could just see they're getting tired, right? You're doing 4 sports, and it's so busy. So we knew we were going to kind of flip it to a staff model, and COVID just kicked us out the door because if we
Yeah.
didn't flip it at that time, we wouldn't be able to run the program. And I'm a big believer if you make a promise, you keep a promise, especially when it comes to kids and families. The definition of poverty is giving them something to someone and taking it away, and I'm not going to do that. So we flipped the whole model and changed it from really before it was kind of like a 1 day a week program. And we changed it. So we actually contracted the number of schools to make it a daily program. So now the core program, the biggest program we call, is free to play, which runs out of 26 elementary schools every single day. So the last bell of the day rings roughly around 3 o'clock. We have 2 staff that go there. They're in the gym and ready. And when the kids are done school, they roll into the gym and then they do a different sport every day. Soccer, hockey, basketball, or flag football. Here in Edmonton on Thursdays is something that's early dismissal, which is the bane of every parent's existence because some schools get out at 11:30, some get out at 2. It's all over the place. But we pick all the kids up from the different schools and take them to do little festivals. They play little games against each other. And anchoring all of the sessions is something we call SEL, social emotional learning. So you and I know that a lot of people preach that sport teaches all these virtues of teamwork and leadership and respect and
Yeah.
emotional regulation. But I would be curious, Matt, on your feedback about this too. Have you ever seen someone actually write a lesson plan on those things into their practice plan? Yeah, no. The answer is no. And so
No.
with us, 80% of the practice plan is how do you use the game to elicit a specific social, emotional, or mental skill. So it's
Brilliant.
all designed around different games, different activities that you can do that will teach that social moment. So that kind of underpins the whole thing. So that's running out of the 26 elementary schools every day. Then after that, it pillars out of that. We have a program called the Wolves. So now that's more like a sportsy club for teens. And we kind of moved to the name the Wolves because we now compete in all the regular leagues. So we have soccer teams in Edmonton Minor Soccer, ice hockey teams in Edmonton Minor Hockey, and ball hockey teams in Ball Hockey Edmonton, basketball teams in Edmonton Youth Basketball Association. And we went to Wolves because, free play on the back of jerseys. Sometimes kids aren't the nicest to each other. Sometimes adults aren't the nicest to kids, and that stereotype is real. And, we wanted to really give the kids like the sportsy feeling where they're playing for the club. And so we have the Wolves program for the teens to compete in. So you pillar out of free to play into the Wolves program with our goal of really getting kids in at age 8, hopefully keeping them till age 18, and then having them come back and have their first job at free play. They become the mentors and the coaches in the schools that they were once in, which is now after 2 decades of doing it. You see a lot of the core staff who run the schools were kids in the program. And now we're getting to the stage that beyond them being the coaches in the schools, they're starting to be the program managers.
Yeah.
With the big goal is for you and I, is for that next generation to replace us, right? And so we're really just trying to build that pipeline from age 8 to then hopefully someone better looking be sitting here on this podcast who represents the community. You know what I mean? Like it should be a program for the community by the community. And that's what we're really building to. And I do take it to heart that I want to be able to hand this over, that it's in a position that someone is set up for success. It's not enough to just say, open the door, here are the keys, good luck, because then that turns to all the finger pointing of like, well, we trusted them with the stuff. And then, right? So I want to do this in a responsible way, in a sustainable way that the next person after me or the next program managers after the ones we have now, they're in a position where they will succeed, and this will go on for hopefully indefinitely.
Wow. So you've talked about the kids now phasing out at 8, and now they're playing for the Wolves, the club.
Yep.
Is there a payment with that, or is it covered by the organization? How did you get around that part?
We used to do the club entirely for free, and then we moved to something what's called contribute what you can.
Yeah.
So we calculate the exact cost of what it would cost you to be on a team or in the after school program, and
Yeah.
then we ask you to contribute what you can.
Brilliant.
We've been trying to give people a little bit more guidelines. We sort of say, here's the basic understanding of what it would be like to say, I should have it entirely for free. And need isn't always based on financial
Yeah.
considerations. The need looks different for all kinds of people, but it gives people a gauge of, okay, like I'm in this income bracket, I have this family situation going on, this is something that I would feel good about taking for free. And you have to ultimately trust the universe, right? And we try to have a conversation with every single parent or guardian or group home or wherever the kids are coming from so that they understand that there's a social contract here. On the flip side, we do really want to broaden the program. We don't want it to just be kids who are taking the program for free. We want to advertise the cost. We want to have people pay for the program because the universe needs all kinds of different people.
Definitely. Definitely.
And we need to start meeting each other in the middle in sports or being in a band or performing on in a drama or being on a science Olympics team, you need to meet different people with different skills, right? And more of the world just keeps getting further and further polarized. And so we really want to change that. We really do want someone who's going to pay I think it's a $650 fee to play on our club team.
Yeah.
And that family hopefully may have a little bit more stability, and then they can give a kid a couple of rides and know that they can feel really good about their dollars going to something important. They know that their kid is learning about the other side of the universe, like I had my experiences when I first started in this space, and that those kids are going to help everybody else, right? And that's where that leadership moment comes from. So we're trying to evolve it, that there's a social contract, that it's an ecosystem of everybody, that it really starts to represent Canada as it
Yeah.
should do, because that's where the
Yeah.
strength is.
Yeah, I really love that, Tim, and the fact that you can come through as a young child and then stay within the organization in a leadership role, in a coach
Yep.
role, in a mentorship role, in a role where you're helping others now, just like people who were helping you when you came in. And that's very, very, very rare, especially in youth sports, globally. You don't normally see a chain or
Mm-hmm.
a ripple effect like that. And again, if I haven't said it, I'm going to say it again. This is why I'm a massive fan of this organization and the foundation that you set up. Because again, um, there is so many distractions in life. And you mentioned it. There's so many things going on outside the sport, that sport sometimes is that grip that just really keeps people. Sometimes need it
Yep.
more than the sport needs them. They need it because it gives them that positiveness, that structure. It
Yep.
gives them that mental health to stay on that right track, a purpose. And I love that, Tim, with that ripple effect of how you've got it going. And reason why I asked about the money, if there's a payment. So if
Mm-hmm.
someone is listening to this and you say, you know what, I'd love to get involved, whether it's donating money, or saying, Tim, I've got a bunch of money here. I'd like to pull it towards your organization. And I heard you speaking about, whether it's the Wolves or the program before that. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because I think um, when you're investing in something that you truly believe in, it's powerful. It's not about the money, it's about the impact that those dollars will have on individuals
Mm-hmm.
and their lives. You're changing lives with it. So again, I really wanted to hone in, and I'm glad you brought that up, talking about how that next phase is. So, what's been some of we'll talk about the achievements and the positiveness, but what's been some of the challenges? Because this isn't easy. You've been doing it a long time. So, I see all the awards. I see them.
Mm-hmm.
But just like an amazing athlete, people don't see what happens behind the scenes. They only see what happens on the days where everyone's watching. So, what's
Mm-hmm.
some of the main challenges you've had to deal with, Tim?
Whew.
No, great question.
No, it is a good question. I mean, it's hard to bucket them all together, but
Yeah,
if I was to, put them into two lanes, the first one will sound a little bit convoluted, but I'm honestly always amazed just how hard it is to make a space for a kid to kick a soccer ball. Like every single day, it blows my mind of all the different barriers and rules and politics, and there's just on and on and on. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and I still have a hard time kind of like figuring out. I also have a pretty big voice. Again, I have a lot of privilege. I think I hope I've used it respectfully and wisely to support people who don't have that voice, and I still have a hard time. So I picture someone who's new to the country trying to figure out how to just register the kid and get them moving. That's hard. Then I figure, the kid who wants to move a little further along the journey of how difficult that's become, and even harder with the huge rise of pay to play and all the different academies. And, there's, I guess, sort of a pathway now, but there's so many pathways. It's
yeah,
so hard to really figure out which one to pick and who's in it for a genuine reason, who's in it for a paycheck. And
yeah,
everybody says development, but is it? So, yeah, I think that has got more murky than clear.
yeah,
And then I guess on the other side, the more personal side, is that I have really learned, I guess, over the years, and it's something that I also took from you from the time that I had with you, especially in the later phases of your
Yeah.
career of
Yeah.
how important it is for you to show up in the right way as a leader. And my body language, if I walk into a room, and this doesn't isn't meant to sound arrogant, but it's just the truth. If my body language is off in a room of, say, even my own team, then all of a sudden they're off. And then the next room goes off, and then all the kids are off. Now, maybe it's not that big of a domino, but you know what I mean is my body language and how I carry myself in a space. I always knew this, but now I really know it, of how important it is to show up with intention. And it is very different than, I know a lot of people speak about positivity. I hear that. I'm not 100% a believer in positivity all the time, just because we're human beings and we have to be able to show emotion. I'm a big
Yeah.
believer in how quickly can I find balance?
Yeah.
How quickly can I bring myself back to
Great
balance
point.
and
Yeah.
regulate myself? And I'm always trying to teach that and preach that of, can I get myself back to balance? How quickly can I do that? And as a footballer, you know that you knew when you were playing, you had to be able to get to balance in a second, right? And
Yeah.
it's
Instant. Yeah.
instant. And that's
Yeah.
the difference between going the highest level and not, is how quickly can you rebound. And it's the same in the leadership spaces. It's how quickly can you rebound from some of the things that are coming at you and maintain composure and have healthy ways, truly have healthy ways to decompress. And I found myself a lot getting back into taking care of my health and my wellness, and seeing the knock-on effect of taking care of me has been huge too, because I have the engine again, I have the fire again, I have the passion again. And so that's been a lot of the challenge has been taking care of myself and learning that I need to, and now I'm doing it and seeing the impact of it. So those would be my two challenge things, I guess, is the structure and then the personal journey.
Yeah. And the personal, I'm glad you brought that up, because the personal usually gets left way behind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we both know, we've seen it within sports, where if it's not, like you mentioned, very intentional, it can have a ripple effect on those at home who are your family, whether it's wife, kids,
Yep.
family members. It can have such an effect because you're just giving, giving, giving without realizing you need to give to yourself as well, right? So
Yep.
I really love that, because that's not something, again, Tim, that most think about. And I'm glad you brought that up. So here's my question then, Tim. So,
Mm-hmm.
because you've got this vision is like exploded way beyond touching hearts and impacting people. How do you keep those around you hungry to keep going with that same vision? Because there's a lot of dynamics in there. There's a lot of different personalities in there.
Mm-hmm.
You've dealt with individuals like, well, I want a bit of money, and you've probably, so how do you keep that vision going? Because that's one of your greatest strengths. I've always looked upon and gone, layer after layer after layer after layer. And I know it hasn't been easy, but you've kept that going consistently. And yes, there's been chopping and changing.
Mm-hmm.
To have a vision is one thing, but to have everyone else buying into that vision and supporting it and hungry, because complacency is one thing, but when you're
Yep.
hungry to go, yeah, let's make this happen. How did you go about that, Tim?
Um, it's a great question. I think for me, I have to remind myself a lot that I need to repeat the same thing. Um, I keep reminding myself, like sometimes I do get really frustrated because I feel like I've said the same thing 100 times and it's
Yeah,
not landing. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, nope, you have to say this a million times. And truly, you have to say it a million times with the same conviction every single time. And if you don't have that passion in the seat that I have, it's not moving. It's not
yeah,
going anywhere. And I've caught myself a few times where I feel like, especially with like kind of internal teams, where I feel like folks should know, and that's where a lot of the frustration will come out sometimes. And then I'm like, no, no, this isn't on them. This is on me. This is
yeah,
100% on me for
yeah,
not showing up like I just talked about, with my shoulders back, with my head up, in a good headspace, regulated, and with some energy and passion and fire and belief in my own vision and in the organization's vision. Because truly, the people that we attract to this type of work are the people who want to give themselves to kids and families and in service, because service is the highest calling, and the greatest gift in life is to be asked to help, because it means that you have a skill set that other people want. And the people who show up to work at Free Play or be a supporter or a donor understand that. And so sometimes for me, it's just a matter of, you know, getting back up there and getting back up there with some conviction and purpose and really sharing the vision again and just generally being compassionate every time you walk by a staff member or a kid or a donor. Taking that time for the quiet moment to listen and to reflect and to I think I've always been pretty good at keeping my ear to the ground with
Yeah.
folks to be able to kind of hear the concerns. I think my challenge has honestly been sometimes I'll change too fast based on what I hear, and maybe people aren't quite expecting that the
Yeah.
feedback will go that quickly. And that's been a learning lesson too, is, you know, yes, the feedback is there, but put it through a bit of a filter before you shift. But truly, like with that Free Play, the staff are amazing. Everybody there is there because they want to do the right thing. So I haven't had a huge challenge in, you know, getting people up and moving. That's not the issue. It's just more reminding of we can do this when it's hard, and it is hard because we hear a lot of hard stuff from kids and families, and that's tough just day to day to wear that. And anyone in the human services profession would know that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like I described, the structure and the issues, and those are hard. And then everybody is still a human. They have their personal lives going on, and they come into the workplace, right? And
Yeah.
you have to be a human to that too.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, right? I've come in and just seen um over the years where you've just had amazing people. And that gives me up to my possibly second to last question here is what do you look for? Give me your top three things in what you first of all, are you still looking for coaches or anyone to get involved with the organization? And then
Mhm.
two, give me your top three of things that attract you or know that someone would be a good fit for this organization.
We are always looking for good people. I mean, we have now 150 part-time employees.
Wow.
Yeah, we need, you know, we run about 50 locations a day. We need two staff per location. Not everybody wants to work 5 days a week, so boom, you're at 150.
Yeah.
A lot of the folks who do work every single day stick around for 2, 3, 5 years, which is fantastic. But the folks who are more students, they're doing it for a semester here and there. There's quite a bit of change, which is great because
Mhm.
new experiences are good. But in terms of my top three, I guess I'll use my cliche that you got to have the passion.
Yeah.
Like you got to really be passionate about service and service to kids and families. That's number one. You have to be patient in recognizing the things that you want to happen will not happen the way you think they should happen or on the
Yeah.
clock that you have. And then the third is that you have to be persistent. So
Love
those
that.
kind of counter each other, patience and persistence, but you got to keep going.
Yeah.
So if you have those things, the passion, the patience, the persistence, you'll do fine and you'll really excel. And people who end up working and coaching at Free Play get a whole different skill set and also usually fills their soul and fills their bucket. It will test you. It will 100% test you, unlike any other coaching you've ever done.
Yeah.
It is way harder,
Yeah.
way harder. And I've coached a lot
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And coaching a daily after school program to 10-year-olds is 10 times harder than coaching anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I throw the challenge to anyone who's listening to come just get your cup full and get your heart full again and take on the challenge and have a new experience.
Yeah, I know that's been my not a regret, but my like damn, like I always wished I was in the same city because I
Yeah.
know really that was always my downfall where I'm like I would just love because again it's something that's very dear to my heart for what it represents, who you are, the vision, the impact that it has on communities, the impact it has on people's lives. So anyone who is listening, like listen to what Tim just said there because it is such a powerful organization and such a satisfaction comes from working with the organization that it just really impacts. That's not concentrating on where you are in the standings or going to nationals or what. This is bigger than all of that. Uh,
Hmm.
this is an environment that changes lives weekly, and I'd say to anyone, just make sure, yeah, if you can, especially if you're in the surrounding area, Edmonton, Just yeah, get in touch and see how where you can, because it's one of the best environments I've ever been in, seen, felt. Um, and when I left Edmonton, it still had a piece of me within there,
Hmm.
which again tells you a lot about our organization.
Thank
That
you.
you're not with it, you're still feeling that hunger within you about that. And even
Yep.
if you're not in it, you want to find out how they're doing, how's Tim doing, how's the organization, because that's the impact it had on me leaving the city to go to a different city. So
Hmm.
I just really want to stress that, Tim. So thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. So before we go,
Hmm.
give me some of your top things that have come out. How long you've been doing this? 20 plus years.
Yep.
Give me a few things that you can look back and go, I'm so proud of this, whether it's two or three. And I know you've won quite a few awards. So if you want to mention those, or just whether it's a kid mentioning a family or someone at school saying your programs did this, just give us a few things that
Hmm.
you're proud of, because we've got to take time to appreciate those moments as well.
I guess I would start with by saying that, you know, just being able to run a daily after school program that is anchored in a curriculum. So there is a purpose. It's not just show up and do whatever you want. There is a
Yeah.
very dedicated purpose that's built on research, and we try to move to it every day, as we talked about. I don't know anywhere else in the world that uses sport intentionally in that way,
Yeah.
although preaches like it does everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of that and the investment we've put into the curriculum. Um, the knock on to that obviously is that families have free after school childcare every day, and that's a $5,000 savings per year for a family, and that for a family who's on the edges is the difference between a roof over your head or food on the table or the bills paid for. And that's true because people tell me all the time. It is also the difference by having those extra 2 hours in a day between having full-time employment and not having full-time employment. And so that truly is alleviating the poverty cycle and breaking the poverty cycle. You're saving some money and making some money. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, what more can you do than that? Like, that's fantastic, and we're using sport for it. So that would be big. The second one I would say is we pushed really hard with the city of Edmonton here that has been extremely progressive. I would say the most progressive across the country, because I've not found anything like this, which is we started something called the Youth After School Initiative. It made rec centers, city rec centers, free between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. for social purpose sport agencies to use anything in the rec center during those hours to run social purpose sport programs. So you don't have to pay those high fees to get on the turf or go on the ice or whatever it may be. And that's so revolutionary in a way for a municipality to take that step. So I always make sure to shout out the leadership, administrative leadership, and the council and mayor leadership in Edmonton for taking that step. And they also made it so if you're not in a program as a youth, there's a $2 drop in at that time.
Fantastic.
And that's amazing. And you see it like, yeah, the space is free, but eventually it actually ends up paying for itself because those
Yeah.
kids come back and grandma comes back and auntie
Yeah.
comes back and it levels out. So it's not rocket science, but someone had to do it, which is huge. And then the third one that I'm really proud of at the moment is we've started programming in Masquachese, which is about an hour and so south of Edmonton, kind of
Yeah.
on the way to Red Deer, which is the First Nations community. We just started an Ermiskin Elementary School there this year, and we're going to Sampson next year. So we'll have two schools in those First Nations communities next year. And we've been busing them into Edmonton to play in our festivals and everything. And the kids there, I just love those kids. They're the best. And I've made some great little friendships with the kids, and the impact that it's having is pretty special. So between those three things, there's a lot more I'd love to do, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
talk about it again
Yeah.
in a couple of years, but those three are pretty powerful.
Congrats, by the way. Congrats. Like, I'm giving you your flowers, like, because we don't do it enough. We do it when someone's in the ground, but we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
do it when they're living. So, you know what? You're living, you're right in
yeah,
front of me. I'm
yeah.
giving you your flowers because
Thank
that
you.
is huge.
Thank you.
How can people get in contact with you, Tim, or the organization, whichever?
Yeah, just go to freeplayforkids.com and there's a contact thing on the website there. There's a job thing on the website there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook if you want to reach out too. But freeplayforkids.com, best place for employment, general questions, donations if you're able,
Yeah.
$5 a month goes a really long way. That's enough
Yeah.
for a snack a day for a kid for a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, work, volunteer, make a donation, or just support with that advocacy on how important it is for kids to have access to play and mentorship.
I love that. And Tim, thank you for being such a pioneer in sport. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you. I know you'd probably hear it later on, but thank you for being such a pioneer. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully, somewhere in the future, we'll check in with you again and
Hmm.
to have you on the show because I just love everything you stand for in the organization, and I just want to get that out to the masses globally, so things can keep happening for the organization, for you, and more importantly, these individuals that you're impacting weekly. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, my man.
All right.